Muriel knew that she wanted to be a missionary to India. When she grew old enough, she prepared herself by becoming a registered nurse, and then she traveled to Scotland to do another year of study in obstetrics and midwifery. Soon after, she was on a ship bound for Calcutta, India. Through the years, Muriel has served in many lands, gathering along the way adventures, accomplishments, added skills, praise, honor, culminating in the year 2006 with an honorary Doctor of Divinity from Carey Theological College in British Columbia. Next to her commitment to God, Muriel is committed to her extended family, which at the last family reunion in Margarettsville numbered about 200. To prepare for this, Muriel wrote a book of her own memories for each member to have. And now she has graciously consented to share this book with us, her church family. And you will find a few copies on display at the luncheon today. I have read the book, and I can assure you that Muriel has not led a dull life. Anyway, Muriel is now retired, but she does keep serving. She serves by visiting hospitals, she serves in palliative care, and on. And always, always joyously spreading abroad the love and the grace of our Lord Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Carol, for that very gracious introduction. I just want to read one verse from Scripture, which a couple says, "There's a time for everything, a season for every activity under the sun. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot." When Danny approached me regarding speaking today, I asked him what he wanted me to talk about. He said, "Well, just tell some key times in your life and career when you saw God's hand at work." So the liberty of my advanced years, I decided I'm going to give you an overview of my life, particularly overseas, in my walk with the Lord. So just fasten your seatbelts. They say that the journey begins with the first step. That was certainly true in my life. Like so many of you, I grew up going to church, Sunday school, and youth group. I knew that I wanted to follow Jesus, but I somehow never felt really God's child. That is until I went to summer school in 1948 in Truro, prior to a year of teaching. The day I arrived in Truro, there was an open-air service at one of the churches in the evening. I attended this, my first evening service. The speaker was an old Presbyterian minister from Cape Breton. I don't remember much of what he said, but I do remember that one question which he asked was, "What are you going to do with the one who is called Jesus?" I went forward that night and once again asked Jesus to come into my heart. From then on, I knew that Jesus was my Savior and my friend. I remember writing to my parents and telling them of my decision. And as an aside, my brother made the same decision that same evening over in Margarettsville. Well, this was the beginning of a lifetime journey, which has continued until today. Now fast forward a couple of years to a nurse's training in St. John, where we started Nurses Christian Fellowship, which is a branch of InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. Nurses training in those days involved long hours and frequently the inability to attend church. NCF was a lifeline to so many of us. As a child, as Carol mentioned, I remember telling my parents I wanted to be a nurse and wanted to go to India as a missionary. But when I was getting near the end of my nurse's training, I had to decide before God, was this really God's call? Or was it just a childhood fantasy? So one evening at Nurses Christian Fellowship, before I went, I knelt down. I said, Lord, I need to know tonight. I have to get on with my life. And after that, I had no doubt as to what God wanted me to do. Then I went on to Boston for some Bible training. It was while there that I applied to CBM to go to India as a nurse. I didn't have an interview with the board. I guess that's how I got there. Those were the days of when there was no orientation. All I knew about India was that there were 24 mission stations and 5 mission hospitals. One orientation. I was so naive. Following a wonderful year in Scotland studying midwifery, I proceeded to India for 2 years of language study. Like Scotland, those were wonderful years. Hard studies, but lots of enjoyment and not much responsibility, as I learned the Telugu language and something of the culture and customs of India. It was after that reality struck. I felt like the Apostle Paul who said, going, not knowing. I was going to some hospital, but not sure to which of the 5 hospitals I would be assigned. What would be my job description? How would I manage? Would I be able to handle the responsibility? Well, I was assigned to a Rocky Mountain Hospital in Sompella to work with Dr. Ben and Evelyn Bellison and Dr. John Courtney. It seemed like a dream come true, but the only difficulty was they had never had a charge nurse, and I had never been a charge nurse. I lived on the hospital compound, and like the other nurses, never had a day off. That is, until I asked the doctors for a half day for each of the nurses. It took them a little time to realize that perhaps the nurses needed a little time to themselves. I never knew what my job was. My outlet was on a little Lambretta scooter, and one of the staff and I would go to villages for propaganda for cataract surgery. Dr. Copley was an eye surgeon, and gradually Sompella Hospital became an eye hospital. You know, at the age of 26 or thereabouts, in the 1960s, you did not complain very much or ask too many questions. At least that was what I had done. However, later on, I felt if I asked the girls to talk to them, they would be disloyal to Dr. Copley. As I would kneel by my bed at night and cry out to God, I did not seem to find any answers. The idea of resigning and coming back to Canada was unthinkable. The one thing I did know was that the God who called me to India would see me through. In later years, with a little more maturity, I would have consulted with other senior medical colleagues and then sat down with the doctors to determine some lines of communication and responsibility. You know, 20/20 hindsight is great, isn't it? I may not have learned much during those years about being a church nurse, but I sure learned a lot about the faithfulness of God. 2 days before I left Sompella for furlough, after a period of nearly 7 years away from Canada, I received a cable from Canada telling me that my mother had passed away suddenly. This was another blow. While I was in Canada on furlough, I had planned to go to Philadelphia to study eye nursing. However, as some of my siblings and I would sit around the old kitchen table far into the night regarding Dad, I realized that my place was at home during that year on furlough. I was able to work in the newly opened Middleton Soldiers Memorial Hospital here in Middleton on maternity for 6 months. During that winter, I was able to near Dad as chauffeur. He knew not to call me before 3 o'clock in the afternoon because of night duty. But very frequently, he would be at my sister's at 3 p.m. sharp to go for a drive, didn't matter where. It was during that winter that I received a letter from our missionary convention in India asking me if I'd be willing to go to Surrey Christian Hospital up in the hills upon my return to India. This was such an answer to prayer. And I accepted. My dad was 83 years old at that time, and I later realized that some of my relatives had planned to ask me to stay on in Canada to look after Dad. That would have been a very difficult decision. But God looked after it also. About 2 months before my departure for India, Dad was killed in a tractor accident, and I did not make that decision. But more importantly, God had graciously released Dad from his loneliness following his death the year before. I spent the first 4 months in Serengo learning real language and getting accustomed to the hospital. At that time, the director. I soon realized, in spite of myself, I learned a little bit in Sorbet. When I took over the little hospital as business manager, the first task was to oversee the completion of the construction of a newly constructing operating block. Unfortunately, my family background did not prepare me for building, so I called our mission builder for his advice. He was very, very helpful, but still the work was not without its headaches. I had taken a Telugu driver chauffeur up to Orissa, another language area, and this did not sit well with our head mason. Jealousies run deep and long. Within a month, I realized that we were in trouble. I soon learned that the mason tried every means possible to discredit the driver. Fortunately, or unfortunately, our contracted hepatitis at that time, and that put an end to the building. After I paid off all the workers and told them not to come back until I called them. Once I recovered, I was able to hire a builder to come and oversee the rest of the work. But God was with me, and we managed to get out of that fiasco without a court case. You know, court cases are a dime a dozen in India, and they can go on for years and years with seemingly ridiculous trumped-up charges. Well, things went pretty well for a number of years. During that time, we had a series of Canadian Indian doctors, and the work prospered. Following a furlough in 1968-69, I took public health at Dell. We were able to start a community health program. Since things were going quite well at the hospital, I would take one of the nurses with me, and we would go on a 4-day trip, giving immunizations in the villages. The roads were not cheap, those villages. So we would leave one afternoon, and in the evening we would immunize the kids that we could find as they came in from the fields. Have dinner about 9 o'clock at night, prepared by them, sleep early in the morning, get the rest of the kids. Then during the day we'd go on to the next village. But we soon realized that when we went on these trips, we had to take something for lunch because there was a long time between early morning breakfast and late dinner. One of the other things which we did was we had a program for seal trap trees with a grant by Oxford. These were the trees which took very little water, which was a blessing in that area, and also odorless. The villagers themselves had to supply the workers, but we would deliver the trees. But Satan never likes status quo, and finally in 1974, as I was preparing to return to Canada again on furlough, we hired what seemed like a nice young Hindu doctor couple. Soon things began to unravel in the hospital. Throwing an anonymous letter against me to the Council of Christian Hospitals by some disgruntled staff members, I met with the Council Executive in Vizag, which is 125 miles from Serango, and where I had to go to buy hospital supplies. They showed me the letter and asked my opinion. I replied that 12 years of work in a hospital did not withstand an anonymous letter, and I had nothing to say. I did, however, recommend that the Council Executive send a board of inquiry to Serango to see for themselves what was going on. I also said that I wondered whether the time had come to close the hospital, since it had lost its Christian witness and was not serving the public. The bed occupancy had dwindled down to a mere half dozen patients. The Council accepted my recommendation, and I was able to drive them 125 miles back to Serango. While the Council Executive were getting their committee together, I went to a good labor lawyer and had him dictate to me a letter of termination for each respective employee. I also brought enough cash from our mission treasurer to pay off the respective employees. I might mention that as I was going out the door, the treasurer's wife said to me, "Muriel, please don't put the locks on the doors." Anyway, as an aside, about halfway back to Serango, we stopped at a little coffee shop for some coffee. One of the doctors refused to come inside from the Jeep. He had the bag of cash between his feet. He was a wise man. While the managing board of the hospitals was conducting our meeting, the board of inquiry visited both the hospital and 2 nearby villages, following which they called me and requested that I postpone my furlough. Without much hesitation, and learning from some better, I said if staying on meant the status quo, I was not interested. I had already bought my ticket for Canada, made my reservations, and looked forward to a family reunion at home. They informed me that following interviews in the hospital nearby villages, they were letting the doctors and about 2/3 of the staff go, and they needed somebody to hold the keys. Well, I did agree to stay on until they could find another doctor. We paid off about 2/3 of the staff, took the sign off the side of the hospital, and carried on as a health center. By the grace of God, once more, we got through this without that little court case, in spite of registered letters from the doctors. The board of inquiry actually slept at my house for several hours after the meeting before leaving to go back to to catch the train. Fortunately, in those days I was a very good sleeper, but I had been in bed for a couple of hours when I heard a racket outside my house. I got up to see 50 to 75 villagers standing there and demanded to know why we were closing the hospital. I said, we aren't closing the hospital, and the reason is because you yourselves asked us to close it. And you asked us to use the doctors, and we're doing that. But within the power that I have, if you come back to Monday morning for medicine, I will give you what you need. They immediately walked home. 1 hour later, a group from the tribal village came and asked the same question. I gave the same reply. They also immediately walked home. Well, I was so great. But I didn't get a visa to return to India, but perhaps that was the price of holding the keys. Before returning to Canada, it was necessary to apply for no objection to return. I had to go to the state capital, some 200 miles away, to present my request. I was there about 3 days. As I paced the grounds of the guest house in Middleton, I kept praying for God's will to be done. On the second evening, a word which I interpret to be that of God said to me, after 20 years in India, what difference do you think a few months will make? With that, I returned to the office the next morning, determined that regardless of their word, I would proceed to Canada, since we now had a Christian doctor couple to take over the hospital. In the office, the in-charge said, well, here's your document. I don't think this means you're getting back to India. I might add that a few months previously, an Australian doctor had visited the hospital. He was a community health consultant. He said to me, what are you doing here? You should be using your talents on a wider basis. How prophetic. Since I had become business manager treasurer for another 3 months, it was necessary to have the hospital books audited once again. When the Hindu auditor came, he said to me, I didn't think you'd get rid of that stuff. I replied that this had been his advice to me 3 months earlier. And his reply was, they were building a fortress, which you want to go find it. How great is our God? My period of waiting for a visa, maybe losing all my papers, lasted for 3 years. However, I read to a number of people, when you're waiting on the Lord, keep moving in the direction you feel God is leading, and ask Him to close the door if that is not His will. So, as I just said, it's very hard to steer a parked car. After a year in Canada, on visiting various churches and camps, I was able to go to Liverpool, England, to take a certificate course in tribal community health. While there, I learned that they also offer a 1-year master's course. Well, thanks to all you taxpayers, I was able to go to Liverpool on a government scholarship, a very generous scholarship, which allowed me, following the course, to visit some 20 countries around the world looking at programs of primary health care. As I said, I must say that had I known when I went there that this is what I ended up doing, there's no way I could have prepared any easier, any better. And if I had gone for my IELTS training, that also would not have helped me. It was while I was on this trip that I went personally to New Delhi, the capital, to inquire the state of my application to return to India. When the gentleman in charge heard that I had been waiting 3 years, he told me I would have a reply within 10 days. I thanked him, but really did not have much faith in his word. However, when I arrived in Nairobi, Kenya, the letter was indeed there. The wording was always the same. We began to inform it's not possible to grant a visa at this time. In the same mail, I received a letter from CBM offering me the position of medical consultant in community health, the CBM. I was on my way to Canada anyway, so went to Toronto for an interview. and wanted to them. I even had the dubious distinction of downsizing a second mission hospital in India. In my years before retirement, I was involved with the Shenbury as development officer and finally as director. Those days were not the easiest, but God was there, they were faithful. And I knew that CBN executive were always behind me. In closing, what good would I leave with you? What have I learned over these years? I would just say a couple of things. Firstly, as I said earlier, our Christian lives begin with the first step, an answer to the question of what are you going to do with the one called Jesus? And that is so true today. And I say also that geography does not determine our worth. We can be as effective or ineffective in our own homes as on the mountain of Kilimanjaro. Secondly, over the years there were times of loneliness, uncertainty, and yes, danger. But I always knew that God was with me, that He'd be with me regardless of what happened. And finally, I was always acutely aware of the prayerful support of you folks here at Middleton Baptist, our constituency, and my family. One of our missionaries who served in the Philippines summed missions in this way. He said, "Mission is a journey in exile. That journeys are seasonal. The critical factor is not how safe they are, but finding new ways to sing the Lord's song in different contexts." And that is the message for us today. Shall we pray? Father God, we just thank you so much that you are faithful to us. It's only our unfaithfulness that blocks the things we do not do. We commit our lives to you, Lord, afresh, and ask that you will be with us day by day and help us to have the courage to do the things you want us to do. Lord, keep us in your care and keeping. We ask in Jesus' name.
Wow, what a life. It just wears you out thinking about everything that she's done. With her life is still going. Serving her different areas in the church on committees, and now secretary here in WW. She's a true testimony of living God's life and sharing with others what His plans are, and showing how wonderful He is to us, and that He is always there for us. And so thank you, Miriam, for doing this today. I would like to